5 minutes.
I thank the chairman. Ms. Johnson, in your written remarks, you said that the Penn Center has a steadfast devotion to free expression. In fact, I counted 16 times in your written testimony you used the terms free expression or free speech. I just want to know, 2 weeks ago when Senator Schumer stood on the Senate floor and said to a major American news outlet that they should not play video footage from January 6th, was that something that's consistent with a steadfast devotion to free expression?
I'm sorry, sir. When Senator Schumer
told Fox News, don't play video footage from January 6th, was that a commitment to steadfast devotion to free expression?
I think Senator, I cannot speak for Senator Schumer or what he intended.
I'm not asking you to speak for him. I'm asking you to comment on what he said.
If there is an issue of national security, sir, I'm not going to comment on what.
How about the very next day when this committee released a report where the Federal Trade Commission sent a letter to a private company, Twitter, and asked them, who are the journalists you're talking with, and named 4 journalists by name? Would that be consistent with a steadfast devotion to free expression?
Sir, PEN America consistently works to defend the rights of journalists, including their ability to do their job. That's all I will say about that.
The next day, 2 of those 4 journalists mentioned in the FTC's letter to Twitter testified in front of this committee, and Democrat members of Congress asked those 2 journalists who their sources were. Is that consistent with a steadfast devotion to free expression?
Sir, PEN America consistently works to ensure that journalists can do their job, and that means allowing for anonymous sources as appropriate.
Good for you. How about this? 2 days into the Biden administration, literally 2 days, January 23rd, 2021, Clark Humphrey, Executive Office of the Presidency, White House office, sends an email to Twitter where he says this: wanted to flag the below tweet, and I'm wondering if we can get moving on the process for having it removed ASAP. Would that be consistent with a steadfast devotion to free expression?
Sir, I don't have the content of the tweet, so I can't speak to that.
I'll give you the content. They cited a tweet from Robert F. Kennedy, that conservative Republican, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., where he was raising some concerns about vaccines. And the White House, 2 days into this administration, said they wanted that tweet taken down. Would that be consistent with free expression?
I will say 2 things about that. One is that, not having seen this, and I appreciate you reading it to me. One is that we would like to err on the side of permitting content, so that because I think it's important to have content.
I'm with you. I'm with you. That's why.
And I think the other, sir, is that we would also want to ensure that if there is misinformation or disinformation being promulgated, that we're able to address it.
Well, that's when it gets scary. That's when it gets real scary. I'm surprised you said that after mentioning free expression 16 times in your written statement, that suddenly now, unless it's misinformation as defined by you, that is entirely contrary to what the First Amendment's about. How about this? National School Boards Association letter that was the catalyst for most of this, frankly all of this, I think, was sent on September 29, 2021. I just want to read the first sentence. America's public schools and education leaders are under immediate threat. The letter then goes on to say, the NSBA requests a joint expedited review by the Department of Justice. Such review should examine the use of the Patriot Acts in regard to domestic terrorism. Do you agree with the NSBA letter sent on September 29, 2021?
Sir, we are not, PEN America has not had a position on that letter. I will just say I understand.
No, I'm just asking, well, how about those 2 sentences I just read? Do you agree with the tone of that in that letter? Do you agree with that?
I'll say this, it is really important that any member of a community is able to stand up before a school board and voice their opinion. It is equally important that a school board member is able to carry out this critical, important public service, sir, in a way that keeps our safety. That's really what I
well, you know who disagrees with it?
Who disagrees with me, sir?
All kinds of people, but the most important, I think, entity who disagrees with it is the School Boards Association themselves, because 23 days later, they rescinded it. 23 days later, they said this: we regret and apologize for the letter. There was no justification for the language included in the letter. So, I mean, the idea that the Attorney General still continues to defend his memorandum based solely on this, as Ms. Neely pointed out in her opening statement, I find alarming. And to our 3 witnesses, Ms. Justice, Mr. Langford, and Ms. Neely, thank you so much for what you did. To your point earlier, Ms. Neely, we are going to talk to these people. We talked to Ms. Garcia today. We had a transcribed interview with her. Mr. Slavin's coming in next week. We're trying to talk with Ms. Wall and a host of other folks who concocted this whole thing, as our report that we released 2 days ago points out, concocted this whole thing. And the key line in that report not from Republicans, not from Mr. Johnson, not from Republicans on the committee, but from a U.S. attorney, Democrat U.S. attorney in the Biden administration, when he said this appeared to be a manufactured crisis. It was all put together for politics, and that's what we all know. With that, I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The chair recognizes the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee, for 5 minutes.
When I think of education, think the